はボールという球でしたけれども、高めのボール球振らせました。
Trevor Bauer. Really didn't think I'd be making a video about this, but I've been a little bit caught off guard with some of the Twitter/X posts that have been coming out. And as you guys know, I'm a fan of the Mariners and getting pretty disturbing from the local podcasts that have been putting out certain things. And I just want to address it. Welcome everybody to the Touching Bases podcast. It is Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. And guess who is not going to be watching the game because I don't care about either team? Me. We're going to put this video out tomorrow after the Super Bowl so you guys can enjoy it. And then we can talk about some of this drama that's going around that's pretty much old news, but the talks and the 50-50 split between Mariner fans wanting Trevor Bauer to actually come to Seattle, which now seems realistic since he has basically said he'll take the very least to just play in the MLB. A bit controversial because it's either you're on team Trevor Bauer or you're on team I hate Trevor Bauer, and I will take no answer whatsoever because he's always going to be a terrible person and I will never approve of him being in the MLB ever again. Okay, that's fine. Now, if you have not been following the Trevor Bauer story, he was accused of sexual assault of a female he met on Instagram in LA when he was playing for the Dodgers. As soon as the charges came up against him, he was swiftly released by the Dodgers as they did not want to deal with any domestic violence or sexual assault charges being on their team, and so he has been out of the MLB ever since. Initially, he was given a 324-game suspension, and that was during the investigation. Now, I wouldn't exactly have the kids around for this type of discussion, especially given the accusations that were made were so brutal and very unsettling, if for lack of better terms, as she claimed that she was choked unconscious during rough sex, and she did not want any of it. None of it was consensual. So at this point is in a way rape in her accusations, while also that she was punched in the face and also punched in the downstairs, since we'll try and keep this as clean as possible. Yeah, these are crazy accusations, as in they're terrible. Now, if this is true and these things really did happen, then absolutely I would hope this person never sees the light of day and gets put into prison, as I think most of us would agree. Lindsay Hill, the woman who accused Trevor Bauer of these assaults, filed for an ex parte restraining order. Now, if you're not familiar with ex parte restraining order, this is a restraining order that goes into effect temporarily by a judge until there is a hearing date to take place. Mostly it's for the safety of the victim. Just that way they don't have to wait around for a court date for a restraining order to take place. Gives them the kind of safety and security until there's an actual permanent ruling. Now, when they did go to court and she requested for a permanent restraining order, the judge ruled against it because given the evidence that they were able to find, it did not line up that Trevor Bauer had any interest in making contact with her and had no contact with her up until that hearing actually was completed. Now, the long story short, as they went through the trial, given the evidence, and there was no charges filed against Trevor Bauer as far as sexual assault goes, and there was no money that was exchanged between Trevor Bauer or Lindsay Hill, and basically it was ruled dead that there was not enough there to even charge anybody with anything given the timeline that was put out. It didn't line up. The bruising and the photos that she took came out much later after the fact, and even the dates on the metadata on the photos didn't line up within the dates that she claimed that they were together. And so it was just basically ruled out with a lack of evidence. Now, some people may go ahead and say, oh, he was guilty, he just got away with it. Maybe. But when Trevor Bauer decided to come back and file for a defamation lawsuit, as he did lose his job with the LA Dodgers, he can't seem to find a team to play for because of these allegations. They want nothing to do with that bad press, and he had to go and play in Japan because that was the only place that would take him so he can continue to play ball while he just, after a couple of years ago, won the Cy Young, and, well, I mean, arguably, he was a pretty damn good pitcher. In the civil suit, they were able to come to arbitration and figure out something. Neither Trevor Bauer or Lindsay Hill actually ended up paying each other, as there was a countersuit by Lindsay Hill, of course, because she doesn't want to have to pay anything to him after this whole ordeal. Lindsay Hill did receive $300,000 in insurance money, so she did get a payday, but not from Trevor Bauer, and magically she decided, I'm no longer going to pursue. Now, either that is because she ran out of money, or it's because she got her payday and that's all she was going for. Now, during this defamation lawsuit, there was more more evidence that did come up that people didn't know about in the first place. Like the second day that she was sleeping in bed with him, she took a selfie video to post on Instagram, basically gloating and showing off who she was sleeping with, as Trevor Bauer was laying right next to her asleep, and she had no bruises or markings to show for, which that was never produced for the court, which should have been available for the court to open up the investigation more thoroughly to clear his name even better, but that never happened. It happened in civil court during a defamation lawsuit. So when it got released, it was released on Trevor Bauer's own account publicly, which really kind of shut down everything and is the reason why that Trevor Bauer never had to pay a dime to Lindsay Hill. Now, a forensics sexual assault response team nurse who examined Lindsay Hill during the initial hearing in August of 2021 said that the bruising she documented outside the woman's lower parts, I'm paraphrasing there for YouTube algorithm, was unlike anything she's ever seen in her 40 plus years of experience. It was frankly alarming, she said. I don't understand how those bruises and the sexual assault evidence so much time after the fact would still be present in such a long span of time beforehand. I'm not saying that all of this is bullshit, but a lot of it doesn't make sense, and the courts filed and agreed that it didn't make sense in her accusations. Given his situation and given the lack of pursuance from Lindsay Hill after the fact and the fact that she did get paid, it kind of just seems like she gave up and she got her money and that was all she was going for. Again, might be biased, but false accusations from people with a lot of money, and especially when you have video footage and you can claim all these crazy things, it happens more often than you would assume. So now that we've kind of wrapped up the full story of Trevor Bauer and how that thing goes, but let me say I'm not a huge fan of the guy. I've never met him in person. I've just seen the way he acts on the field and the things that he posted before all this stuff happened. Maybe he has matured a little bit to see that bad press is not good press all the time, especially since now it seems like everybody hates him for what seems to be no reason at all, given the fact that he has been acquitted from everything and he didn't have to pay a dime. He didn't have to serve any time. And I don't think that he's actually guilty of doing these things. I think that he is guilty of going after very attractive women and sleeping with them and doing things that are unconventional. Then maybe you're a missionary. I don't want to say that I'm defending him, but at this point, it's a bit ridiculous when I have to go on Twitter and I have to read Twitter threads when people are saying, hey, maybe the Mariners should pick up Trevor Bauer because he is a very good asset. He did amazing in Japan. He did a very, very good job. He was very much loved over there. And he was also a clubhouse favorite for the Dodgers when he was there. That really helped the team during the regular season and even into the postseason when he was a pitcher. So reading all these comments that are on Twitter, it's coming from, and I don't know if I should be really calling them out because I am a huge fan of a lot of the Mariners local podcast groups. One of the biggest ones, I will just say I think it is the biggest Mariners podcast that's out there. So you can go ahead and assume who it is. And I'm pretty sure they won't take down their post because they're pretty strong on it. To kind of attack the people, the fans that are throwing the options of Trevor Bauer out there because of the accusations and everything. And then try to double down and say that when we claim that it's cancel culture, when you say that you will mute anybody who goes against your views because you say that Trevor Bauer is guilty and you don't care what anybody says, you're the problem, dude. Like, you're the problem. I'm sorry. That's not okay. You're not guilty until proven innocent. That's just how this works. You can not like somebody. You can not be a fan of somebody. You can talk shit about somebody if you really want to. That's perfectly fine. That's within your right of everything. But to say that the fans will be muted and casted out because they don't agree with your opinion of things, when obviously the other side of things are looking at the facts and the facts say that they did nothing wrong in the first place, that's childish. That's immature. And you should be called out for it because there's a lot of people that disagree with you because they actually did follow the full thing rather than look at the headline and just go with that. You need to understand that Trevor Bauer would be a good asset to the team. The bad press thing is very immature, but I understand the PR side of it. I've worked in public relations. I've done that kind of thing. I understand the viewpoint of this, but as fans, as journalists, this is not something that you need to worry about. In fact, what you should do is look deeper into the case and see the facts and see how everything is, and then maybe look deeper, like the clubhouse reputation that the player has, to see if they would actually be a monumental step forward for the team, even if they have a dirty past that they obviously have already cleaned up. And then put that out there for fans to get excited about, because the more that the fan base loves a player, more likely it is that the organization might take interest in him, especially now that he's only asking for the league minimum to play for a team in the MLB, because he wants redemption. He wants to prove himself. He sees where things are at this point, that he can't ask for what his Cy Young award-winning year was worth. He can't do that because his reputation is tarnished, given by these false accusations that really hurt him in the long run. I'm just saying, you can have your opinions, but do not attack the fans for having different opinions and then threaten to mute them. That is cancel culture. You can put quotations around it all you want, but that's what that is, and that's not okay. And that's not what you should do to the people that listen to your channel. You aren't above everybody. But I say this as a fan myself of your channel, of your podcast. And I say that as a fan of the Mariners as well. I don't mean to attack you guys, but what you're doing and what you're doubling down with is wrong. It's not okay. And this is just my opinion, but also it's causing a lot more issues other than that. You don't need Mariner fans to turn against each other because they're taking either your side or they're taking the other side. It makes things political. And that's the last thing that we need in the Mariners fan base is politics. So please, either refrain from saying anything or be willing to have an open discussion without threatening to mute or delete people that don't agree with your opinion. So let's look into it. What if the Mariners or any of the 7 or 8 teams that are supposedly talking to him in contract, what are they going to get? Last season, he played for the Yokohama Bay Stars, where he went 10-4 with a 2.76 ERA and has no known issues as far as his health goes. In 2022, he was one of the highest salaried players as far as a pitcher goes, with a $45 million deal. And now he is looking at accepting a $740,000 plus incentives deal with any team that's willing to take him. Is this a sign for desperation? Of course. Is that something to drag on him about? Probably not. I don't like defending people I don't like, but you need to respect his traversion of obstacles that he's trying to overcome, trying to get back into the MLB. He now has a terrible label on his plate, and he doesn't exactly have a lot of options outside of that. He could go back and play for Japan if he really wanted to, but is that really appropriate for somebody who just went through all this? I'm not saying he's a victim of anything, even though probably he is at this point by the way he's being treated by social media and the media outlets, and then also by MLB teams. But if your team could be better by taking on somebody with a rough past, wouldn't you take it? Let's also consider that we're not asking for teams to sign Julio Urias, who was with the Dodgers as well, but he was caught on film beating his wife at a soccer game where he has been charged with felony battery. This is something that's plain and simple across the board. We all know what it is. Whereas people who've been watching Trevor Bauer closely obviously know that this was all BS, and now we're just dealing with a PR hit based on those who really looked into none of the investigation besides the frontline header pages back when it initially happened, versus looking at everything that happened collectively and putting it on the table for everybody to review. So I hope that you guys take in consideration what I'm saying, whether or not it's the Mariners, whether it's another MLB team. I think everybody deserves a second chance, and even though he gave off a bad boy persona before the accusations, that doesn't mean that he actually does the bad boy things. And now that he's gone through his suspension, he has been cleared from his name, and the courts have even seen that he is not someone that you should be worried about. You shouldn't let a tarnished name go astray. Just because he's taking the lowest amount of money possible just to play in the MLB again doesn't mean that he's guilty of it. He just sees the reality of it. And social media and newscasts are making it very obvious for him. So what is he doing now? He's doing what he can to get back in the game and then prove that he can be an asset. And I think the team that takes advantage of that is going to win a lot more games because of it. What are your guys' thoughts? Leave them down below. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people watching this that don't like Trevor Bauer. As I am not a huge fan, I would love to meet the guy, maybe change my opinion of it. Until then, share with me your opinions and like the video if you do think that it was objective in this kerfuffle You like that word? I like that word. I'm going to use kerfuffle a lot. I don't even think I'm saying it right, to be honest with you. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. I really appreciate it. I am still on leave and in a hotel, but I figured I would talk about this on Super Bowl Sunday. Let's go Chiefs because I hate the 49ers. Go figure. I will catch you guys on the next one, and stay safe, party hard, and I will look up some more crazy things to talk about on the next one. Hopefully one of these free agents gets signed. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to stop talking. Bye.